You know who's not the worst, guys? Segway, our first guest, Ring of Honor star, an independent star. Don't forget he's everywhere else too. Adam Cole, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, but now that the bar has been set so impossibly high, I got to do my absolute best to be the best goddamn guest that you guys have ever had on this show. So now I'm all nervous. Now I don't know.
You should be nervous. We're nervous too. Listen, that's what we do. We are the worst. Let's be frank. You know what? Let's just get right into it because we don't know how to do anything else. You know, I'm the indie wrestling fan of this staff more than the rest, because I'll tell you that because that's how I do. I've seen you in because I'm a Philly guy, saw you in CZW and Ring of Honor, and I want to know, what's your favorite, Ring of Honor or CZW? I know that's going to get you in trouble, I'm sure, but just answer as least politician-like as you can.
That's going to get me in so much trouble. But no, my honest to God answer is, I know this is not the political answer that this is not the answer that you're looking for. But I like both companies for two totally different reasons. I got my start in CZW. It's where I started training actually at the CZW Wrestling Academy. So that company is always going to be very special to me and always going to be near and dear to me. And I really got to develop, I feel, especially as a heel in CZW. That was like my first real opportunity to kind of branch out creatively, both promo-wise and in the ring as a heel, because I never really got an opportunity to do that anywhere else, whereas CZW kind of gave me the platform to do that. And then Ring of Honor, obviously, I mean, the locker room is filled with some of, if not the best wrestlers in the entire world. So you're in a sink or swim situation 24/7. And that if you don't bring your A game every single show, you're just going to get eaten alive and lost in the shuffle. So both companies are very, very special to me, for many different reasons. So yeah, I'm loving the fact that I get to wrestle every weekend, man. I have no complaints.
Adam Wells?
Yeah, Adam. Now, when you go from like a place like CZW to ROH and like shift back and forth, when you do you find it difficult to have your style transition from one company to the other? Do they ask you to work a different style in one place or the other, or is it just an all-encompassing thing with both?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think initially it was challenging for me. I was never really given DJ Hyde never really gave me a whole lot of credit or a whole lot of direction as far as my heel character in CZW. Kind of creatively, he let me do my own thing. So I actually look at that as kind of like a blessing, because when I would go, to Ring of Honor, and I'm this, old school 80s underdog babyface there, and then I come to CZW, and I'm this pompous, arrogant, circa 1992 Shawn Michaels style heel. It was an awesome situation for me, because I feel like my growth as a wrestler, it had no choice but to occur, because I had this completely different opportunity in CZW where I knew I had to wrestle differently and project myself differently, and then, vice versa with Ring of Honor, which I think is such a blessing, like I said, because so many guys on the indies kind of get locked into this one character that they do end up perfecting, after years and years of doing that character. But I've been fortunate that I've gotten to work two completely different ends of the spectrum, and the transition for me was fairly easy. It was actually harder for me to be a babyface initially. I felt I didn't really find my groove as a babyface early on until eventually I started kind of finding that groove and figuring out what worked for me. The whole heel persona came off a little bit easier for me, but I think I lucked out huge with it, because I got to be able to kind of improve on two different ends of the spectrum.
Brandon Gavin?
Yeah, you mentioned Shawn Michaels, and, just watching your matches, you always see a little bit of Shawn Michaels come out, but also, as I noticed, from Brian Kendrick, Paul London, even a little Rob Van Dam, wrestlers of those ilk, a lot of guys that came up with a high flying, a lot of kicks. Who else was your inspiration to get into the business and craft your style around?
Well, as far as inspiration for guys who got me into pro wrestling, like Stone Cold Steve Austin was the first guy that I remember seeing as a fan, and I remember just being so captivated by him and who he was. And I remember when I was a little kid and I decided that I wanted to be a wrestler, Steve Austin was exactly who I wanted to be like. And then, you know, if you look at my frame and you look at the way that I look with long hair, I'm not a very intimidating guy. So I knew that Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't going to be someone that I was going to be able to imitate, I guess. But he was a guy that instantly, you know, captivated me when I was a little kid. And then guys like Kurt Angle also was someone I was really, really into as a kid. And then independent CM Punk was a guy I was also really into in like 2004, 2005. Because I remember just being so blown away, you know, by his promo ability and his ability to speak to an audience and things like that. But as far as guys in the ring that I really study, you know, obviously Shawn Michaels, like you had mentioned. I watch a lot of Chris Jericho too, like really, really early Chris Jericho. Because like I said, I know I'm not a huge guy, so I have to kind of project myself on the way that these smaller guys who have ended up making tremendous names for themselves had to do. And that's the interesting thing for smaller guys like me. But I also think it's a good thing, is we're kind of put in a position where we have to be pretty good at everything if we want a shot at making it. Like, we have to be good in the ring, we have to be good on promos, we have to have a good look, we have to be good at marketing ourselves, because nothing is given to us. We have to do everything that we can to make sure we're as good as we can in every aspect of pro wrestling. So I take that as a blessing too, because it just forces me to constantly improve and constantly get better to advance to where I need to go.
I agree. Actually, we had Al Snow on. He said exactly what you said. You can say whatever you want about giving a wrestler a gimmick, but once you get him between those ropes, only one person sells your gimmicks, and that's you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I did a lot of training with Al Snow early in my career, too, because CGW Wrestling Academy actually brought Al Snow in for about 4 or 5 seminars, and 3 of them were Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all-day clinics. So Al Snow was really, really helpful early on in me kind of figuring out that, you know, it's definitely not all about the moves. It's about, you know, creating a character and creating, if you're a babyface, creating sympathy for yourself. If you're a heel, getting the people to hate you, and just, you know, the real psychology of what we do. And, yeah, he was really, really helpful early on, and definitely knows what he's talking about. You know, you don't need me to tell you that.
Yeah. Mike KO, you?
Yeah, you know, you mentioned that one of your approaches is to kind of be good at everything, you know, due to the fact that you're not necessarily the biggest guy in the ring. But one of the things that we see that you excel at is your work on the mic. What's been your approach to that, and what advice could you give to so many wrestlers out there who we think, or, you know, who obviously struggle with that?
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest thing when it comes to mic work is there needs to be a switch that goes off in your head, where whether it's 30 seconds or whether it's 5 minutes, where when you have that moment where you're talking to the audience or whether you're talking to a camera, that you need to completely believe in every single thing that you're saying. You know, when I'm a good guy and I'm talking about this is the biggest match of my life and this is a giant opportunity for me, you know, for that 30 seconds or 5 minutes, however long the promo is, I'm completely Adam Cole, and you know, there's not a fiber in my body that doesn't believe what I'm saying. It's completely real. And same thing as a heel. I have that switch in my head where I can pretty much become an asshole, like a cocky prick, and come across that way because I really believe and dive into everything that I'm saying. And I never sit back too and you know, write out my promos or plan what I'm going to say. I'll take 5 minutes to kind of just become my character and really, really get engulfed in that mindset of just portraying and projecting whatever it is that I want to say. And yeah, I think too, just being really, really convincing, because it's not necessarily what you say or how well that you speak or how you come across, but I think just really believing, like, in your eyes and in your body language, that what you're saying and what you mean. Or what you're saying is completely what you mean is a big part of you know, cutting a good wrestling promo. But yeah, that's about it.
I agree. And listen, we're not just tooting your horn, dude. We do a lot of watching wrestling and stuff. You're one of the brighter stars that Ring of Honor has going. That's why you got your title shot in Dayton. And we're going to ask about that, but I have another CZW quick, because like I said, I'm a Philly guy. I was around when CZW and Ring of Honor feuded back in the day. And as somebody who liked Chris Hero, who was a heel who jumped to CZW, I like your heel persona in CZW more than like your babyface persona. Although I do love it. You're right. It is the 80s, like, surfer kind of. You're like a face paint away from being Sting over here with long hair. But